So he said, but I got somebody I want you to meet. And he introduces me to this investor. Heavy, heavy investor. Dude got two Lambos, his daily driver, the Urus. You know what I'm saying? He looked like he stepped fresh off the pages of Vogue. You know what I'm saying? Hair bluer than the wig Croatian dude. And I take a 4-month real estate course from him, free of charge, right? And we work together on a considerable number of deals. And he puts a good amount of money in my pocket. But essentially, he helps me to understand parts of real estate that nobody had ever been able to explain. He helps articulate it in a way that nobody's ever been able to put it into words. I mean, it was almost like he was just, and not just from like an opinion standpoint, but like if this, then that. Very, very direct. I think that everybody tells you like, oh man, the easiest thing to do to get into real estate is find a property. Yes, that is the easiest way to get into real estate with no money. It's just find the.
I built this. Me, brick by brick.
Welcome to Brick by Brick, where we discuss different ways for you to build your empire, one brick at a time. We discuss everything from real estate, e-commerce, stocks, crypto, and more. Whether you're an entrepreneur, working a 9-to-5, or in the streets, Brick by Brick is here to help you get to the next level. Let's go.
Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Brick by Brick Show. We're excited to bring you guys this one. Before we even started recording, we already got into kind of a good vibe. We were discussing Nipsey and geopolitics and the whole thing, so that was pretty cool within itself, and traveling. So those are a couple things we definitely got to tie back into, man. But first of all, welcome to the show, Jameka. Thank you for joining us. We're glad to have you. How you doing?
Oh man, I'm doing fantastic. I'm blessed. I really appreciate you guys for having me. It's been a long time coming, so I'm sorry it took so long.
Oh no, it's all good. It's all good. Big bro, how you doing?
I'm blessed, black, and highly favored, bro. How you?
Boy, man, likewise. I'm trying to get like you. Honestly, we need to put that quote on a shirt because like every time I think of you now, like it's blessed, black, and highly favored. So yeah, man.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Love it. So yeah, so probably gonna ask both of y'all, what is something that you guys have learned recently that you guys can kind of give as some free game to kind of kick off the episode and give to the people some free gems, some free jewelry. Could be something you learned recently, something that's been top of mind.
Greg, you want to start?
Yeah, I go ahead. For me, it's always being consistent. Like I feel like that's the hack. That's a cheat code to any form of success. Be consistent. Kind of got to stay down till you come up. Like no matter what it is. And I realized like even within real estate, staying consistent is kind of what's giving us the success we have. And even like when we had a trucking company, I wasn't consistent, so it wasn't successful. But like other brothers that started around the same time we did, they just stayed down and it's like really working. So I mean, what I'm always telling everybody is, bro, stay consistent. Whatever you're doing, stay consistent.
Facts, most definitely. And Jameka, did you have one?
Yeah, I think that my gym is probably wholeheartedly someone was talking about today, which is, work through it.
Yeah.
Right? Work through it. It's not stopping because of, it's not, bitching and complaining about why, but literally work through it. Work through the part where you don't feel like it. Work through the part where you don't think that it's working. I guess it piggybacks off of consistency, but sometimes you can consistently do the wrong thing, right?
Right.
But it's working through the stuff that's in your head that's telling you that that you don't feel like it. That today, you're gonna take off today, or you're not gonna do something today, and it doesn't have to be this grind. I know that like that's something that's just kind of in our culture. We've always talked about like grinding, I'm grinding, but by definition, if words have power, then grinding means to like whittle something down. You know what I mean? Almost like to nothing. And that's not what we're trying to get to. We're trying to build ourselves up to something. So
Mhm.
it's trying to figure out that sweet spot between working on something that you're passionate about, right? But then also the mundane part that's not fun, the part that's not sexy, the part that's not Instagrammable.
Yep, most definitely.
I think that all like both of what you said and what I said circles right back to being very disciplined.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot of discipline involved because like even with me and you, so we talk every day, and we've
Yeah.
been it's getting healthier journey, and it takes a lot of discipline to get up and get out there, and we had that conversation all the time. So yeah, a lot of discipline.
Yeah.
I think that a large part of us having let's talk about the healthy journey really quick, right? So Greg says, "Hey, I'm doing this challenge, right? It's like a 75-day hard, right?
Yeah, yeah, 75 hard pause.
Yeah, 75 hard pause. Definitely pause that one. So he says, I'm doing this, this 75 hard. And I said, okay, I was like, well, tell me about it. And literally he tells me about it. And I was like, man, I'm about to go to, I'm about to go to Puerto Rico. Like, this does not sound like something that I was like, we're not drinking alcohol. And he was like, we definitely drinking. And I was like, you don't even drink no way. Like, it ain't really your thing. But I think one of the things that I thought about ever from the time that he brought it up was the idea that I could see where it would lead. Like, right? I got like this view in my imagination, like this idea of what that's gonna look like when I'm done. I'm like, man, okay, my skin will be clearer, you know what I'm saying? I could shed me a couple pounds, right? And it's the end goal in mind. So it makes a lot of what you're doing easier when you have something um tangible or like a goal that you're trying to get to in the end. And a lot of times I think that we think about the things that we want, right? But we don't think about like what actually happens in the end when you got
Yeah. Honestly, I think both of those are definite gems. One, like you said, you got to be consistent,
it.
and
Excuse me.
what you were saying as far as just being able to work through it and pushing through it, but having that discipline to do both things. I think the thing I want to add too, it's funny that you were even talking about like kind of knowing what that goal looks like. Because even me personally, I've been in the gym. I told myself like 3 months ago, I was like, for the next 3 months, I'm gonna be in the gym at least 4 days a week. I've been in the gym 6 days a week. But on top of that, even just this morning, I kind of like literally 6 days a week getting it in, and we've kind of built a whole movement um of folks on Instagram and on Twitter, like people kind of getting more fit and showing their fitness journey and the whole nine. But even the way that I kind of look at that is like I'm looking at that and seeing how I can implement that aspect in a business way, right? So even today, I was like, now, like, I'm literally tracking my macros and my fitness and the pounds and the body fat, and like I got the numbers and the
Oh,
math and
that's
the whole
hard.
nine, right?
Oh,
But
that's hard.
like when you start doing that, it's like they say in business, it's like what gets measured gets worked on, right? So if you're
Right.
trying to get your business in, you want to get sales in, you want to get leads in, you want to get more revenue in, then you kind of like you gotta track your leads, track your marketing, track who you're talking to, track who's
Right.
visiting your website, and the whole nine. So like now that I've kind of figured out how to do that in my fitness, I'm like, all right, cool. You know what? Like that's really what it's about. Like how can you really track what you're doing, set measurable, manageable goals, and move forward and hit those. So there go 3 gems for y'all right there. Be consistent, work through, push through. Even to add what you were saying, I think that for me, I consider that just being able to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Because like you said, like it won't always be fun, it won't always be flossy and
No.
fly and all that. But at the
No.
same time, you've got to have the discipline to tie everything together to be able to push through and
Yeah.
manage through all that. And like I said,
Yeah.
like you got to be able to measure and track what you're doing, have those goals in mind because it makes it easier to see your progress, and that helps to also boost you to your next goal too. So yeah, so there goes some free gems for y'all to kind of get the episode started, get the show started. So yeah, first to kind of get into it, Jameka, like where are you from? What's your story?
Wow. Well, it's not really that difficult. I'm from Houston, Texas. I'm from Third Ward, Houston, Texas. I grew up in the crack era, um, and my real escape out of Houston when we thick on screw, thick on popping pills and drinking syrup, smoking weed, drinking 40s, right? That wasn't my story, but it was so many of my friends' journey that I just kind of saw where it was going, and I was like, I don't know how this is supposed to turn out for us, right? Like we're 12, 13, 14, 15, and it's not looking good. You know what I mean? Like it's just not looking good. And uh I remember like, kind of trying to figure out like like what's next. And that the big thing was college, right? It was like, where you gonna go to school? Where you gonna go to college? And my high school was directly across the street from TSU.
Mm,
Right, I
nice.
say was, but I think it still is now. They tore it down, got a new building, that whole
Mm,
nine. But I remember I came to visit our homecoming, and they had like Foxy and Wu Tang, and I remember coming to DC, being from Houston, and seeing so many black people, and I was like, "This is it." I'm like, I'm thinking this was school about to be like every day. Of course it's not, but I
mm,
don't know that then, and I'm like, I'm out, and I get here, I get to DC in '94. If I were paying attention, I believe that Marion Barry is leaving, and I think I came in on Sharon Pratt,
mm.
which was nothing could compare to the great Marion Barry. You know what I'm saying? If you let the city tell it, right? I didn't get to experience him, but I just knew all of the things that he did. But I got here in '94, and I've been in DC ever since, ever since. So, that's almost 30 years now.
Wow, that's dope. That's dope. So, and honestly, I gotta say, man, Greg, you kind of got me the same way when I first went out there to visit and hang out. I didn't know really what was popping in the Maryland, DC area and all that. And then
Yeah,
I'm seeing a bunch of fly black folks just like living life.
yeah,
I'm like, yo, like this is what it's
yeah,
like out here. And like, I think I ended up
yeah.
moving out there like what a month or something later. I don't even know.
Right, because you was in Cali, you came to
Especially,
Cali to visit.
Yeah.
yeah, especially when you're from the South,
Hmm.
right? Because even though the majority of black people live in the South, right? Overwhelmingly so. I think it's 65% of all black people are still in the southern states. Um, Up here there just wasn't a lot of segregation. Like it's a smaller square footage, like a smaller radius. You know what I'm saying? DC is a blip. Like literally, you get from one side to the other. I think in like 15 square miles or something. Like like it's nothing from end to end. But I just had never seen um black people running government. You know what I'm saying? I've never seen black people operating big businesses the way that they were here. Just the level of the entrepreneurial journey. It's kind of, I guess, how you hear when you hear people excuse me, kind of when you hear people describe Atlanta today.
Yeah.
So very similar.
I mean, no,
But
it is Chocolate City. So now I feel you.
well, it used to be.
Yeah.
It's chocolate chip city now.
Yeah, most definitely. So
It's chocolate chip city.
I think this is actually a perfect follow up to kind of what you were saying. I'm essentially like seeing a bunch of black folks together, like not only a part of government, but also like you said, like running businesses. So what got you into business?
Um, the craziest part about it is that even though we had a lot of entrepreneurial endeavors at Howard, right? That's not the generation that I came up in. I very much came up in the mid '90s at Howard. And like I said, I got to school in '94, so there was a huge push for like you being very corporate. They wanted to make sure because we had not been in leadership positions, in a lot of instances, right? Like in these larger corporations. So they were very much concerned about things like your hair, your clothes, your dress, your attire. It was a very suited and booted type of thing, and not like no suits with personality, right? They would tell you gray, blue, black,
Mm-hmm.
gray, blue, black, white, crispy shirt. And this is at a time when Earl Graves isn't even over at Black Enterprise. Earl Graves is just over at Pepsi. You know, Jamie Dimon is heading over at Chase, and it's just like this is where they came to hire, and they wanted to make sure that when you went on an interview that you presented well. So I wasn't it entrepreneur. Saying you wanted to be an entrepreneur at Howard was damn near like saying you had a better shot of probably being like an actress or some shit. You know what I'm saying? You want to be a dancer. Like we had Shy, if you remember them, right? The If I Ever Fall in Love. Um, we had like Carrie from Mint Condition. I mean, we had probably more entertainers than we actually had entrepreneurs. And as far as entrepreneurial endeavors went, we had like maybe like some people with some clothing brands. The guy that started the Nietzsche and Mecca, that same guy, he was at Howard, but it wasn't. They didn't even have courses on entrepreneurship. They didn't have courses on leadership or anything like that. So I actually came up at a time when it was just very taboo to say like I'm gonna work for myself. That was you might as well have said you're gonna starve because that's what like work for yourself doing what you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And you just finished spending a good 150,000 getting this education. So it's like what you mean you about to work for yourself? So when I graduated, I actually took a job. I took a job with an accounting firm, but I was working at Foot Locker at the time, and I just hated it there. I was like, this is not somewhere I want to be. This is not something that I want to do. And I had a friend of mine from school, still a friend today, and he used to come to the mall on his lunch break. He worked around the corner, and so I'm selling shoes part time, and he kind of reminds me of Trey from Boys in the Hood. You know what I'm saying? Like real leisure leisure kind of look wearing. You know what I'm saying? Like just kind of Mr. Suave, real cool. And I was like, man, what are you doing? He's like, I sell money. I was like, sell money, and he was like, yeah, I sell money. And I'm like, man. Like, give me a job. Like, it looked like, like your environment just a bit more laid back. And so he was like, all right, well, if you serious. And so I remember, kind of telling my dad, I was like, man, I don't want to work at this firm no more. And he was like, well, you need to do something that's gonna make you happy, So I'm like, all right, okay, that's good advice, but how do I follow through on that? And I end up talking to him more in depth, going to his office, talk to his boss, and turns out they were uh, what we now know to be subprime lenders. Before that was a bad word. Before subprime was a bad word, right? They're subprime lenders, and what I now can understand is that their life happens to everybody, right? So everybody isn't gonna have like this stellar and perfect credit. That's number one. Number two, we dealt more with primarily homeowners, and so you may have people that are caught up in a circumstance or a financial pickle, and all they have is the equity in their home, right? That's the collateral which somebody is going to lend to them. There wasn't a whole lot of financial education at the time, and we were tasked with. If you were a good loan officer, you were really tasked with trying to help somebody understand their financial predicament and help them find a way out. And that's how they would come to you. And I worked for a company at the time called Household Finance. They were bought out by HSBC. I want to say somewhere around that 2009 to 2012 period, when you had a lot of the banks collapsing. But that's what it was about. And I ended up staying there for about 4 years. I worked with another subprime lender for another couple of years, and then I ended up going to Chase for my last 4 years where I worked for somebody.
Okay, wow.
And then
Nice.
I went into business for myself. But that was kind of my foray into real estate. That was like once I started working in subprime lending, I saw I saw the value of home ownership. I saw the value of property ownership, and probably 2 years after I got into that, I immediately started buying properties.
Okay, okay, nice. So when you say you got into business for yourself, is that when you want to transition into real estate?
Yeah, I started. I started on the side. I still had a full-time job. I was working like crazy, but um, I had a lot of. When I got to Howard, I was 16, right? So I spent my first 2 years screw the blue fucking off. Like I was not in the classroom. Like I mean, it looked so good outside the window. Like why would I ever be in here listening to what y'all talking about? I'm at Howard. The ratio was 13 women for every one dude. I was like, cool. So at least 20% of them gotta like women. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, ain't no, I'm finding myself. I'm discovering all kinds of fun things, and so my job at Foot Locker, right, took me out of school. I dropped out of school for 2 years. I did anything and everything you could possibly imagine. I was, I was, I was, uh, I was definitely selling my little fair share of weed. Uh, and I remember a wise older person telling me, like, they give you like real jail time, even if you're a college student. like, you don't get like soft jail time. You don't get like college student jail time. Like you get like real, like a crime is a crime no matter where you commit it. And I just remember that kind of sticking with me, and I was like, yeah. And then, I think of course there was like, uh, once it got physical, maybe a robbery, and some people was like, we need to get the guns and shit. And I was like, I'm not in it for the. I was like, this seems very aggressive. I thought we were just selling. I thought we were selling weed. We was gonna smoke a little weed, make a little money. We are gonna buy some shoes. I was like, I don't understand why this is getting so violent. And so I knew at that he was like, this part of the game. And I was like, I got to get out of this game. This is not working for me. And both of my parents had gone to prison. So by this time, both of my parents are in prison, and I was like, man, they locking up old people. I was like, this is ridiculous. I was like, everybody. And after you've seen so many people go to jail, if you just want to be number whatever, right? You watching them go, or you watching them get real time. And I said, well, this ain't really what I want to do. So my path to finishing up school, I got back in school, went back to Howard, graduated. Most people that drop out really never go back. You know what I mean? That's not it. They just kind of start. I went back, like I said, I got into finance, and that's when I tied like the finance part, right? Because I'm now looking at people's credit. I'm fixing people's credit. I'm looking at how they're managing their debt. I'm looking at probably one of the things that I noticed more than anything else was like couples and how as a marriage, if they sat and talked about finances together and they really decided who was good at managing what, who they were going to let manage what, you might have a guy pulling in 140, $160,000, right? His wife is stay at home, or maybe she works as a teacher or something. She might be doing 40, $50,000. If she's better at managing the finances, that's who manages the finances. You know what I mean? You can have a conversation with this gentleman all you want to about what he's going to do. She's in charge. You know what I mean? And so I kind of learned to talk to both people at the same time. But uh, to get back to what you were saying, I saw people in predicaments where they had the possibility of losing their house because they were just so over leveraged. And I just was trying to figure out like how do I get my way in? And I ended up uh before I bought my first house, I ended up buying some property like in Baltimore. It was one of those things that if you're amongst and around something, right, you kind of hear it. And if that's what you want to gravitate to, that's what you gravitate to. So once I was in finance, I started meeting, once I'm in finance and real estate lending, I'm meeting other homeowners, of course. I mean, people that are contractors, people that sell insurance. So I think I bought some property in Baltimore first. I bought some property in Detroit, and I had a really cool apartment. You know what I'm saying? Like you couldn't tell me nothing. I mean, the, as a matter of fact, Chris and Jawan were playing for the Wizards at the time, or the Bullets, whichever.
Bullets, yeah, back then.
And okay, and I remember like one of the flyest things to me, man, was that they sent all of their friends from Chicago and Detroit to Howard. So you would see dudes in V12s, you know what I'm saying, and like Nike, not Nike, NBA, official athletic gear. And long story boring, I ended up kind of befriending a lot of those guys. But one of the dudes lived in an apartment complex, fly as hell. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, man, I remember I was like, I'm moving to that apartment complex. He ended up getting a house after that, but I just remember thinking like I'm some years younger than them, so I got a really nice apartment. I ain't had no reason to leave. I get this apartment. When I first moved into this apartment, man, I'm paying maybe like 9. And within 4 years, they had sent me a letter and was like, your rent gonna be like 1,200. I say, I gotta buy a house. I had my mother was coming home from prison. I was like, I gotta buy a house. I'm like, I'm not paying $1,200 for the same place I'm in right now. Ain't no way, no how. So after the investments that I had made, like smaller investments, I've been a landlord. I had another the property that I bought in Baltimore. We weren't even fixing those up. We bought 2 properties. I think I might have paid like 7 and 12 or 5 and 7 or something like that, like thousands. Like just nothing. And my man was like, and I was like, what are we gonna do with him? He was like, we're gonna hold him. John Hopkins is coming and buying up blocks. And I was like, okay. I don't know why I believed him, but I did. And he had like 4 to 6 properties, something like that. And I'm talking about like the only, I know it sounds weird, but they had like steps made of marble. Are you
Mm-hmm.
familiar with that?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
had
All the ones that don't have no front yard. Yeah, that got them big old steps made of marble.
steps made of marble. So in my mind, I used to be like, man, what kind of neighborhood is this? You got marble steps. Like this must have been something cold back in the day. But like it was just little things like that were working for me. Like I said, I bought some property in Detroit. This is before, trust me, at this point in time, nobody wanted to live in Detroit. The people from Detroit didn't want to live in Detroit.
Mhm.
So, but I bought some property then. We had a couple of houses, and so uh then I ended up like, getting my first house. And so that's kind of how it started. It's like I I understood the value of knowing that I could buy something. And if you just time it perfectly, somebody's gonna pay you more for it. That was the start of the business. I don't think that I was too busy like clubbing and buying sneakers and wasting money to understand that, like this is a real business, but I wanted it to be. I set it up like one. I had an LLC and that kind of thing, but the acumen and the information that's available now is like light years ahead of time, from what we were doing then. But that was my real foray. I'm a serial entrepreneur, so I had a clothing line at one point. And we were still doing like tenant management. We were trying to find development deals. I hope it doesn't sound disjointed because sometimes when you're reflecting on it, it seems like it's kind of all jumbling together at one time. But sequentially speaking, I bought a couple of what I now know to be prehab properties. We bought them,
That's the
didn't do
vibe.
anything to them, just waited until somebody came and offered us more money. You know what I mean? It was like better than a bank, right? They came, offered us money. We took that cash. I ended up buying some properties in Detroit that cost me maybe about $5,000, $7,500. Same thing. This time we fixed them up, pay about $40,000, $50,000. We held on to those for a few years. Being a landlord out of state is tough unless you have amazing tenants. We had decent tenants, but the city itself had problems. So like they had problems with the pipes. I think like some trees were growing into the pipes, and so some of our tenants, uh, the basement was flooding, and we filed a few insurance claims, and I was like, man, I'm tired of going out here and fixing this property up, so we ended up selling those, and then the market crashed, and so that's like 2008, 2009, and at the time I'm also working for Chase, but I had spent maybe my last 3 or 4 years as bread and butter working for Chase, doing first time home buyership seminars, programs. At this point, I'm pretty much telling this is like Cameron is popping, Dipset popping. I'm telling everybody, like, you need to get a house. Like, man, where you live? How much you paying? Oh man, you need to buy a house. Where you live? How much you pay? Like, that was just my whole thing. I'm like, man, you can get a house. Get a house. Because at this point, I bought a house with two. I had pulled out maybe like another $200,000 in cash, and it was like ATM. That thing was still going. So I'm like, this is what you need. I'm like, this is like, it's too easy. It's too easy. At this time, rates is like maybe like 6, 7. Um, and I did that, like I said, right up until the market crashed. And I stayed with Chase. But hindsight being 2020, I get with Chase, market crashes, and instead of them literally selling people between 620 and 720, no, they would just drag out the program. And I felt like I was lying to a lot of my potential clients. I felt like I was being dishonest with them. If they were asking for, 2 pay stubs, if you got paid bi-weekly, and 2 years W-2s, they started asking for 3 years of W-2s and 4 pay stubs, and not all at the same time. So they would wait until the people sent all the information in, and then it just felt like they wanted bank statements, and they would do all of this over like a 3 to 6 month time frame. And people like, man, what's going on? They're gonna approve the loan. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know why they asking for this. Not really understanding how underlying guidelines were being restricted, and that just wasn't, it was almost like they took a group of people that should have never bought homes and penalized everybody that was trying to buy one.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
so I just remember feeling like I'm helping the enemy by helping all of these people who could afford to buy their second home. You know what I mean? Buy an investment property, a vacation. Like, I'm talking about now, the market was jumping for that. That's the thing, is that, when everybody's fearful, be greedy, right? When everybody greedy, be fearful. So
Mhm.
all the people that had plenty money, knew that whole 2001 with Alan Greenspan. They knew this was coming. They was like, man, everybody was buying houses. You know what I mean? It was a big movement. That's when they had the do either of y'all remember the negative amortization loans?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had this loan program. They call it a negative am loan, but it was like a loan program. It was like 1.5% loan. You would see them on the side of the road, right? The the 1.5% loan, they would be on those the median sign. What are
Yeah.
they called? You
Yeah.
know what I'm talking about?
Bandit sign.
Bandit signs, right? They had these bandit signs, 1.5% loans. And essentially um you couldn't buy a property, but I believe that you could refinance. I never did one of these loans. So, that wasn't my thing. I would tell people the good, bad, and the ugly straight up front. Like, I can get you an interest only loan. You pay interest only, we're gonna own your house. That's how an interest only loan works, right? If we give you an interest only loan and you decide to pay interest only, we're gonna own your house, right? The interest only loan was particularly for people who had fluctuated income, or people who like worked on commission. So maybe one month you made 7,000. If you didn't have sales, maybe the next month you made 1,500. But your goal was that if you could pay $2,000 every month, and you pay your $2,000 in the months where you are killing it, then you dump into the loan. You pay $2,000 or $4,000. Now that requires a certain amount of discipline, but that's just what it is. That negative am loan was something like I had never seen before. It was like 1.5%. You have four options. You could pay 1.5%, which meant that every payment that you made below whatever prime rate was, that would go to the balance on your mortgage. Or you had an interest only payment, then you had a 30-year fixed option, and you had a 15-year fixed option. This was also during the time that you had a lot of people that would, when they were refinancing for debt consolidation, they would take a large part of cash out of their home. They could take, 20, 30, 40, like all the way up to almost like 90%, 95%. I remember at one point companies were doing 125% loan to value. That's how much appreciation you were getting on mortgages. But, you could take all of this out and then they would give you like a 2 or 3 or 5 year arm. And the goal was that you pay all of your debt off, don't run up any more debt, right? And make the same payment, maybe a little bit less, or pay it as much as you could. You could work it out with whatever the customer was. If they were paying, let's say $1,500 a month in credit card bills, and their mortgage was $1,500, and they refinance, and now the mortgage is $2,000. Well, that $1,000 difference that they're now no longer paying, you would say, hey, why don't you take $500 of that, put it in a savings account, another $500 of that, put it on the mortgage, give yourself 2 or 3 years, your credit score jumps up, this mortgage balance that you have at a high interest rate comes down a little bit, and then you'll be able to refinance into a much more conventional loan. That was always the game plan that I spoke with people about. So that was really kind of what I was really, really pushing. But that market crashed. All of these people that had all of this money were now buying, like I said, vacation homes, investment properties. It was a very eye-opening thing for me. And I got out of that business completely. I started a clothing line, entered into a very, very saturated market. But I had a really good time. I didn't lose anybody, but this was like the cool kids time back when like Crooks and Castles was getting started. You know what I mean? This is before Mark Echo even had Complex.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Yeah, you didn't even have that. This was like Ed Hardy. Everything was Ed Hardy, very much like a rock star vibe. Rockaware was killing everything. So I learned I probably learned more about business during that time than any other time, right? And I remember saying to myself, like, real estate has started to kind of heat up again. So now, I'm sorry if I'm dating things not necessarily by year, but like time frames. So LeBron is in Miami. LeBron goes to Miami, so that puts you at what, maybe 12, 13. The market has kind of healed a little bit. And I remember I get to kind of maybe like 2014, and I start hearing about real estate again, and I get excited all over again. I'm like, how do I get back in? Because my finance background is like, I got to have a paper trail of money, right? I've been an entrepreneur this time. Um, I'm making a little bit of money, but not enough that like I can show a consistent sort of paper trail of money. And so I do, the smartest thing I know how to do, I go get a regular job. Literally, I go get a regular job. And I had my house. I still had a house, right? Um, I had, I go get a regular job. And as soon as I get that W-2, I'm like, we back to buying again. And I just kind of start buying. And so I'm doing very, very like cosmetic flips. You know what I mean? I'm coming in, new carpet, fresh coat of paint, maybe a couple windows, new door, good staging, we out. I'm 4 to 6 months, I'm in and I'm out. And at this time, DC is really kind of into their gentrification, right? And
So
so,
flips were in DC.
say again?
Those flips, they were in DC.
Yes, yes. And I think maybe if I would have had more steady income. You know what I mean? Because the moment I started flipping, I got out of the job again. I was like, I didn't want to work for somebody. So I think that if I were a little bit smarter, right, or maybe kind of had the patience, I probably would have stayed, but I didn't. So end up getting out of that. And I'm like kind of doing odd, not I don't want to say odd jobs, but I'm bartending, I'm serving, I'm having a really, really good time. And then I get a bit more of a serious job. I'm in a relationship where, somebody is asking me to have something a bit more stable. And I can understand that, as an entrepreneur, that's probably one of the things that you battle with. If you have a companion, is like either they get it or they don't, right? Either they understand that there's going to be some high highs and low lows, and you're trying to find something that's a consistent, you know, uh, way in, but either they get it or they don't. And so, unfortunately, I was with somebody that didn't necessarily get it, but I do thank her. She did, what I'm saying? She did push me to work. I worked, in another corporate structure. I'm not one of those people who believe that you cannot work and work for yourself. But what I will tell you is that if you are working for somebody else and working for yourself, something's suffering,
Mm.
right? If you're working for them and you're working on behalf of you, either the work that you're putting in for you is suffering, or the work that you're doing for them is being half-assed. You can't you can't go full throttle for both. You don't have the time or the energy.
Yeah, that's facts. That's true. So all right, so now you're kind of heavy back in the real estate, investing in the real
I'm
estate.
heavy back in
How
real
did
estate. Yeah.
how did you two connect?
Man, so this is the best part. I get into I meet a mentor, right? I meet a mentor like around 18.
Mm.
And at the time I got this like big idea that the house that I'm in, I wanted to sell so bad, but part of me was kind of on that. I don't know if you've ever seen the show Love of the Listed, right? Love of the Listed is like
Hmm.
you love the house, you love the neighborhood, but you're outgrowing it. And so I'm
Hmm.
like, don't worry about it. I'm gonna pop up, right? I'm gonna put another floor on top of it. Now I remember meeting this black guy. I walked up on him. He's working on a job on a construction site. And I was like, hey man, you the general contractor? He's like, yeah. I was like, I got a property up the street I want to show you. I was like, I want to put another floor on top of it. So he comes and he looks around and he's like, nah, you don't want to do that. I'm like, why? He was like, you can't live here at the same time. And I was like, why? You could frame it. I'm trying to tell him his job. He said, man,
Right.
you can't do that. So he said, but I got somebody I want you to meet. And he introduces me to this investor. Heavy, heavy investor. Dude got two Lambos, his daily driver, the Urus. You know what I'm saying? He looked like he stepped fresh off the pages of Vogue. You know what I'm saying? Hair bluer than the wig, Croatian dude. And I take a 4-month real estate course from him, free of charge, right? And we worked together on a considerable number of deals. And he puts a good amount of money in my pocket. But essentially, he helps me to understand parts of real estate that nobody had ever been able to explain. He helps articulate it in a way that nobody's ever been able to put it into words. I mean, it was almost like he was just, and not just from like an opinion standpoint, but like if this, then that.
Mm.
Very, very direct. I think that everybody tells you like, oh man, the easiest thing to do to get into real estate is find a property. Yes, that is the easiest way to get into real estate with no money. Is just find the property, right? But it's a numbers game. You got to find a ton of properties, then you got to make the connection and find a ton of people to sell those properties to. And if you need the money to feed yourself, then that's not the money that's going into the work that you're doing. And he just kind of made it make sense. He was very much about uh take the money that you can now, be as modest as you can, and roll right into the next deal. And every step of the way, always remember you can get out. Don't fall in love with the project. So long story more, and I sell one property, I said my primary residence, finally. I decide I'm not gonna pop up. And I go into like the biggest flip. Uh I buy property. Um I buy property from a guy who his mother had passed. She had a reverse mortgage. So it had eaten up all of the equity. If you don't know what a reverse mortgage is, it's like a mortgage that works backwards. Literally just what it says. They typically take properties where people have a ton of equity. They cap the amount of equity that you can borrow against it. So if the house is worth 500,000, the max you could typically take out might be like 60% or 65% or something like that. You can get $300,000. You're supposed to fix up the property. But the great thing that most people hear about it is that they don't have to make a mortgage payment and they don't have to move. And if you're a person who's been in your home for 30 years, most of the time they don't want to leave. Even though it might be the best thing for them, they can't maintain it anymore. It's too big. It's a home, so it needs shit. You know what I'm saying? A home needs stuff. Like, you don't just stay somewhere for 20 years and think that it's just gonna keep taking care of itself. Like, it's falling apart. The same way your body's falling apart. You know what I mean? It's like, it's more than they can manage, but they're in love with the nostalgia of the house. They've been there. They know they go to the grocery store up here, they go to the post office over there. So anyway, he's losing the house. I bought a house, and I bought a house May of the pandemic. And and I remember closing on this property, getting the permit maybe like a month later. So we ready to rock and roll. We're doing demolition. And come September, I got a big old hole in the ground. The house is fully gutted, ain't nothing but a shell. And the neighbor is a white guy, and he's ready to sell his house in the pandemic, right? That was when everybody's working from home. He had a job offer in New York, and he's like, I'm ready to sell, and I can't really tell you what he's thinking, but in my mind, this dude is like, I don't want this construction next to me in like full swing while I'm trying to sell this house. Like, this might scare off some some buyers. So he calls, DCRA at the time. Then now they call DOB or DLP, whatever. He calls them. I don't know what he says to them, but he gets an inspector out there same day. And for all of my real estate people, I promise you, they come to your site, they're gonna find something. You don't have to worry about it. It's not like a traffic stop. You understand me? If they show up on your project, they're gonna find something. And my architect had not put that we were removing the slab, which is the concrete at the base of the property, where when we're gonna install new plumbing. I mean, we're doing a full gut rehab. We're taking a house from 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bath, to 5 bedrooms, 4.5 bath. We add 400 square feet. So of course we taking out the bottom of the house. But they give us a stop work order. We're on a stop work order for about 3 days. We follow up with all of the paperwork, and now this guy has hired his own engineer. And I can't tell you exactly what he said to him, but it felt like he said, it's comb through this shit. And I know they got something going on that ain't right in here. And we then ended up on a stop work order. I was on a stop work order for 10 months. But long story born, we get the go ahead to get back to work. And now every single thing you could possibly imagine that it costs to build a house is 3 times the price, if not 4. 2x4s used to be $2.74. They got hot $9. You know what I'm saying? Drywall used to be $7. They $22 a sheet. I'm talking about hey, we out here. You know what I mean? And so I have a guy, he said, I need some windows. I said, man, I'm getting like a quote on windows is like $14,000. I say, my budget for windows was like $3,000, $4,000. I was like, what the hell? He said, it's a place in Baltimore. Like, it's an auction. He said it's stuff that they removed from like buildings or other houses that's like gently kind of used. He's like, I'm sure you'll be able to find something out there. And I get out to this.
you know, funny enough, all that stuff there is brand new. So they buy closeout businesses.
Not my windows. My windows were not new.
Oh, okay.
My windows were not new. Some of them were, but I bought the front picture window. It was a triple pane, right? That wasn't new. We cut a new hole for that. But those windows cost me in total. I think I might have paid $2,200 for all the windows for the house. That was the only thing that I got that was below the budget everything else was triple the budget. I thought that property was gonna take me $250 to $275 to rehab. It took me every bit of $420. I big borrowed and stole from Peter, but I'm walking around and I think, did I ask you? Did you know somebody that installed windows? Or did I ask you like for a ride or something?
No, I was actually in a rush because I was late to pick my son up. I went to pay for some stuff, and I seen you looking. I'm like, so I walked by you before going to pay for something, and it looked like you needed help. So I was like, I walked by, I kept going. I'm like, bro, that was flawed. Like, help, you know what I'm saying? So coming back,
okay,
I was like, yo, everything good? And then you was like, yo, do you think this window will fit? Because like it had like a little thing at the top. I'm like, yeah, man, that's gonna be in the wall, man. You be straight. And then and then we talked for a second, and then you know I asked what you
and
did.
You told me you was like, hey, I got a guy that install windows, and I was like, I don't need a window installer. I just need to make sure that this window is gonna fit.
So yeah, I was like, I gotta install windows, and I was like, I gotta make windows as well. Yeah, and that's how we exchanged numbers.
Yeah, and that's how we ended up exchanging numbers. And he was like, man, I'm doing some properties in Baltimore, and honest to God, I've met so many people in real estate that are just not I mean, you meet people in life like this too, but I met a lot of people in real estate who are not who they say they are. And it was very much so refreshing that he was every bit of who he said he was. And I just kind of remember talking to him and listening to him describe shit. And I'm like, how is that possible? Like, I thought I was like fascinated. I was like, I don't understand that this is possible. Now, obviously, for those of us that don't know, Baltimore and DC are very different markets, so that's how it's possible, first and foremost. You got 9 houses. Oh my God. There. And then I got out there, I was like, okay, well, I mean, this is I understand. I completely understand. I was like, I mean, this is it is the difference, man. It's like flag football versus full tackle. You know what I'm saying? We getting killed over here on flag football, you know, where it's just a different set of rules or whatever have you. Mm-hmm. He out there making all of the money, but it's full on tackle. Like you gonna come out of Baltimore on real estate with CTE. You dealing with them folks out there. Greg's like, I'm over to the house. You know what I'm saying? I just need to make sure. I was like, you've been breaking money.
Yeah, man. We had been on the phone a couple nights while I'm over there. Like, man, people breaking in. Oh, so Stef, I didn't even tell you. Jay, we talked about this yesterday. I'm driving down the street to go to another property on Sunday after church to make sure the tenant moved out, and you know what I'm saying, like, see if I need my trash, got to come clean everything out. Right. And I see people on the porch of one of my properties. Bruh, I made the hardest left turn of my life. You know what I'm saying, like down that one way, and put the absolute press on them, fool. I'm like, bro, what y'all doing in my house? How y'all get in my house, bro?
Yeah, and in the crib.
And this goes back to discipline, because the undisciplined me, everybody got it out there. Yeah. Everybody. But I was like, yo, trying to be better.
But Stefan, do you hear the differences? This man has full on like people loitering. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like they about to bando his house. Yeah. Meanwhile, I got a know-it-all attorney for a neighbor who was like, I'm going to review the documents submitted to the municipality to see exactly, you know, what is in here, because I need some. And we literally spent 10 months on I don't want to say that we obviously, if you go through anything, you can find some mistakes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We absolutely worked on the things that we had issues with, but those are two different problems. You
Yeah,
know what I'm
no, that's
saying?
crazy. That's
It's two
yeah,
completely different. You get what I'm saying? It's like ain't nobody about to come and try to squat. You know what I mean? Like that's not happening because
yeah,
I got the nosy neighbors,
yeah,
but it's like they're two very stressful situations where you still are. That's the part that's like I said, that's the not sexy part. That ain't the Instagrammable part. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like it's even though it's not your fault that you're on a stop work order. It feels like the most embarrassing. You know what it remind you of? It remind that big ass orange sticker that they put on your car when you parked at the wrong apartment complex.
Mhm.
That's what a stop work order feel like. Like, and you driving around, you done tried to scrape all of it off. The big adhesive still on there. That's what it feels like, and it's not a whole lot that can be done about it. But we got through that project. Sold it for 1.2.
Oh wow, that's a blessing. That's
Yeah,
dope.
Yeah.
yeah,
And you
yeah.
said
We got
you put like 420 into it all together.
uh-huh.
Okay, nice. I mean, yeah, it still
Yep.
came back, but I mean, I was just
Yeah.
thinking to myself like,
And bro, that
wow.
spot was beautiful. Like I went by there,
Yeah.
I'm like, nah, he like
Yeah,
killed it.
Yeah.
Like it was absolutely amazing. I'm like, yeah, that was dope.
Yeah. I mean, make no mistake about it. I mean, it was nice, bro. Like it wasn't nice for the sake of being nice. I'm talking about like we really put some love into it, but that's probably one of the challenges that I've had now looking for another property over the last year is that for you to get a property in DC now, a shell, for you to get a property in DC to get the rate of return that you want, let me say that. You're talking between at a minimum, you're talking $450,000, right? And the what you have to do to it right now, the margins are so thin, it just isn't worth it. You buy a house for 450, 500,000, you got to turn around and put between 4 and 5 in it. You barely walking away, with 10%. You know what I'm saying? Maybe 5% of the sale price. Um, and it's just not enough because if you have any one thing that goes wrong, you make nothing,
Yeah.
or you come into the table with money. And so, recently I have been really hardcore networking. I say I'm about to be part of the problem. They think Austin housing price is bad. I was like, wait till they get to Richmond. I was like, I said I got to get somewhere where you could buy a house again for $100,000. You know what I mean? And it not you have to any house that you get as a deal, right? In DC, you have to add square footage to because all of our homes here are built in the early 1900s. So I ain't talking about like 40s, 50s, 60s. I'm talking about like you talking 1,400 to 1,600 square feet, right? Uh, 2 levels above ground, a basement, 3 bedroom, 1 bath, and that's just not what people are gonna pay $1 million for, right?
Yeah.
Or 900, that kind of thing. And so you have to go very high end. You're not doing granite countertops, you're doing quartz, right? You're not just doing the countertops, you're doing waterfalls on the sides, you're doing pot fillers and backsplashes and hoods and skylights, and so it's all of these other things. You're doing rainforest, you know what I mean, like rainforest showers and glass enclosures. It's just very
high end.
there is a say again.
So it's high end now. The market's high
It's
end now.
very high end. Now there's a huge initiative, right? And Greg is I don't know if Greg mentioned it to you. I know I've spoken to him about it. The mayor right now, Muriel Bowser, she has an initiative where she's trying to bring 20,000 new black homeowners to DC by 2030,
Mm.
right? And I don't know. It's a daunting task. It's admirable, but it's a very, very daunting task. and it's going to require a shift in mentality for a lot of people. And then it's just going to require just all out hard work, right? To really kind of figure out and make that happen. But I have not heard that in any other cities. You can let me know if you heard somebody being deliberate enough to say that that's what they want to do. But there are a few places where you can have some first time home buyers, but even still, you're still talking four, $400,000 to $600,000.
Yeah.
That's why they're providing such a hefty amount of down payment assistance. In DC, we can do as little as 80 to as much as 202,000 in down payment assistance.
Oh wow, that's huge. And I mean that'll be big for our audience too. So I mean, black folks trying to buy a house in DC, yeah, that's a major move.
They want you.
Right.
They want you. They want you bad. They're looking for it. And there's so many other programs and advantages to being in DC, right? Like, especially if you're an entrepreneur, they're giving up to 20% down payment for commercial property purchases.
Oh wow.
Right. So we have a young lady, I can't think of her last name. Her first name is Angel, but she has a company called Spice Suite. And she bought a $1 million building. She has a team, a collaborative team where she was doing a lot of pop-ups, like group pop-ups, and she bought a building, built it all the way out, and now they have indoor entertainment space, event space. She's teaching financial literacy there.
Is Angel Rich?
No,
Okay.
Angel Rich. That's the. I know who you're talking about. She had the app.
Yeah.
No, I can't think of this lady's last name.
Angela Rich was talking about, yeah, but I know sure you talk about, and I can't remember her name either because.
But you can find her on Instagram at the Spice Suite.
Yeah, Jabri wife Nikki, she's part of that as well with them. So.
The collectives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's even when you just go look at it, I mean it's beautiful. And so that's one program. They have another program where if you're a DC resident, and your kid wants to go to college, any school out of state will allow you as a DC resident to pay in-state tuition. So for a lot of people, that's a 4-year degree that's gonna save you $100,000 right there. We have all sorts of homestead exemptions. We have, any government contracting opportunities, all DC government contracts, anything over $1 million, 35% of that has to go to a certified business entity, and an automatic CBE will be awarded to you if you are a DC resident. So we have there are many reasons to move to the district if you're here already, to buy in the district, but that's part of it, so it's I started here, I really cut my teeth here. If there are any advantages and opportunities that I can make happen here, but I'm not just going to limit myself to what's right here. I'm definitely going to look around into the neighboring states where the margins may be a bit better, and just really kind of work on that.
Yeah, we talked about doing some prehabs in Baltimore, like just a way for us to make maybe 15, 20 on each house, and we're not even doing a full renovation. We're just getting it to like roughing stages where we're framing the rough subs, maybe in electrical, plumbing, HVAC, and then we sell it to an investor, and stuff like that is good for like beginner investors, because when you first walk in and you see this big project with you got to demo the whole place, you got to reframe, like it seems kind of daunting. So if we can take a little bit of that pressure off of new investors and also make a profit doing it, you know what I'm saying? Like we talked about doing some stuff like that as well. And I meant to say this to you earlier when we was talking, Jay. I think I'm moving heavily into assistant living now, and use some of the products we already have to do that, because I mean, every time I'm talking about doing a new business, like Jay always say to me, figure out how to scale what you already have, like integrate it vertically somehow, like figure that out first before you move on to something.
My man Nipsey.
That's a fact. So that's something we're working on now. Like I'm waiting on a business plan to come back. But the same place, I caught the Squatter Sunday. I'm gonna do that there and the other property and some other ones we have. But when I did the numbers, it's like
Oh, the numbers are stupid. Yeah, the numbers is
500 a person
stupid.
a month at 5 people per house. Like, what are
Yeah.
we doing?
Uh-huh. Yeah, exactly.
Oh no, that's
Exactly.
crazy.
Yeah.
Oh no,
I
yeah,
mean,
bro.
we have a lot of contracts for behavioral health and assisted living. We have tons of contracts like that. Uh, you just have to, like, do something like that in DC. You have to be so cash heavy.
Right.
So as soon as I get my cash up to where I want to have somebody hold on to it for a year, I'll wait. I'll come back into it. But I know we're about to come through a crunch. You know what I mean? What we're about to deal with. So I want to just make sure that as best as I can, to set myself up strategically. That's all I want.
Yeah, most definitely. That's the plan. That's the plan. So, all right. So, no. So, and we might actually have to have a part two of this interview because you got a whole bunch of game as far as just like so many different things. I mean, from the programs to the investing, the different ways to invest. So, yeah, that's huge. So, but
we get so
yeah,
you're, and I was thinking that I was gonna say it. So most times we get on the phone, it'd be like an hour conversation.
Easy.
Like it's just wealth information. So I was thinking that we need to bring you back so we can talk about the business credit and helping people build out their business, get business
Oh
credit.
man, I would love to. I would love
yeah.
to.
And that's
That's the
something my
part.
wife and I are actually working on right now, like that exact thing. So yeah, we gotta chop it
Okay.
up for real.
Yeah. And like I said, if y'all are, even if y'all are at the beginning stages, you know what I mean? Like for real, just give me a call. I tell people to literally get a registered agent, right? First. Go to Freedom Voice, get you a 800 phone number, right? And then apply for your EIN. Make sure that your business address is that registered address in whatever state you're getting, and start with that because the best date to have your LLC is now, right? The longer that it's in business, nobody said it had to be earning revenue. It just needs to be in inception. You know what I mean? And while you're working on trying to get all of the other pieces together, you've already got an address. Because it's easier to tell the registered agent, hey, I want you to mail my address to this location. But your registered agent can be the physical location of your business and it can be the address of your business, right? Because once you become an LLC, you're public information.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's fine. Yeah, we're gonna have to chop it up. I think we actually just got a business number and a business phone for one of the businesses as well too. So yeah, we gotta chop it up for sure. So yeah, Greg, I mean,
Awesome.
yeah, we got a few things we got to chop it up about as well. So, but before we wrap this up, we were talking about some of the rappers earlier, but who is your favorite rapper and what is your favorite album?
Oh man, hands down, Jay-Z Streets is watching.
Okay, nice. That's what's up. That's a good one.
Hold on.
Yeah, I mean
Streets is
if I
watching
had
volume
to
one?
say again.
Is Streets is watching? Is that volume one?
No, Streets is watching is just Streets is watching. You thinking of in my lifetime.
Right, because I swear, like we had a conversation earlier, and you were talking about
Yeah.
what song was that? Yeah,
I was talking about Corrupt Marcy's son.
yes, and that made me
Yeah.
go back and play that album. You know what I'm saying? Yep, it
Yeah.
is.
But if Jabri, if I gotta do something, wait, I'm sorry, Stefan.
Yeah.
If I gotta do something, if I gotta give you something for now, shouts to Jim Jones. I will absolutely go 100%. It's Almost Dry with Pusha.
Nah.
Favorite album right now. Favorite album right now. I could put that on and play that all the way through. I saw Pusha. I saw Pusha the end of last year. No opener. 2 hours. Fire show.
Wow.
One of the best concerts I've been to in a long time. And yes, I've seen Beyonce and Jay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I went to the 444 concert in 2017. Hands down. The DJ was fire while we was waiting on Pusha to come out. When he hit the stage, I mean, I was like, this guy. I mean, it gave you like minus the raspy voice, it gave you very DMX vibe.
Oh
You know,
wow.
in terms of like stage presence and stage
Energy.
control and
Yeah.
yeah, what he rolled into, the production behind it, the screens, you know, and the visuals that was with it. And I don't know if it's because uh he very much so speaks to the same era in which I grew up, right?
Mhm.
Which I think it gives us a sort of sense of invincibility, right?
Yeah.
That we've survived,
Yeah.
right? We've endured when a lot of our peers, you know, did not. You know, I
Yeah.
have so many friends dead and in jail, you know, and never coming home. So many family members, the same thing. I got a cousin doing 30. Well, he's been in for 30. I think he's got like another 15. You know, I think he's eligible like 20, 35, something like that. You know, he hasn't been like he went to prison when he was 19. He went to prison and I went to college. And but hands down, that pusher right now. But of all time, Jay Streets is watching. You can't, you know what I mean? His oh man. Everything about that album, everything on there was just very, you know, it spoke to that time. It's a eloquence and a sexiness, right? But without with you understanding like that all of this comes at a great sacrifice. All of it.
Yeah. It's
And
a
I think
cautionary
that
tale.
very much so. Very much so.
Yeah, most definitely. So listen, so Jay, all right, off top, we got to get you on for another episode. We got to talk the whole business
Of
credit thing, and
course.
we got to
We
get deeper
gotta
into the
get to the
real estate.
business
So
credit and business funding. You know, I want to shout out all my socials. Please follow me.
yeah,
Proper Arrangement, PROPERANGEMENT, Proper Arrangement. You know, we're properly managing, properly arranging, or you can always go to my website, get your paperwork right, exactly how it sounds, correct spelling, get your paperwork right.com. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been a
most
long
definitely.
time we were trying to get on here.
Friend,
Mhm.
we made it happen. All right, yo,
Yes,
big bro,
sir.
anything else you wanted to say?
Nah, bro. Great conversation as always. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
this is what we do literally on a daily basis.
As always, man.
yeah,
Yeah.
Hey,
most definitely.
you know, you reach out to us, hit me up in the DM. We have a entrepreneurship call every Saturday morning, 9:30 a.m. We get to the business.
Hey Steph, I don't even think I ever told you about that. Like every Saturday at 9:30, we jump on a Zoom call as business owners. We have another couple that's on there and we talk about like we push each other's business, like rental car companies, the real estate, whatever. And like we
We
have
work through it.
that, yeah, like yo, like did you get this done this week? Nah, man, you know what I'm saying? So by next week, you know what I'm saying? Like we need to have this and this done. So like we kind of push each other to be great.
Yeah.
It's dope.
So mastermind, we need more of that. Yeah, matter of fact, I might need parts of that too. So like, yeah, tap me in, man.
Yeah. You and the
Yeah, for
wife,
sure.
you say y'all got a company. Hey, it's the best thing for it. You know what I mean? But it's about actionable items and execution. You know what I mean? And just being in a circle of people that's gonna hold you accountable.
Yeah,
Right.
most definitely. That's what it's about. Accountability partners, for
And
sure.
sharing resources, because I mean, like none of us hesitate to say, "Hey, man, I got this." Huh?
Let me send it to you
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm
ASAP.
talking like mid Zoom conversation. You say you need something. Seconds later, you got it in your email or in your text message. But
That's
I
fine.
What we
mean,
doing if not that?
facts.
Yeah.
Complaining that we need to see that. Come on, man. We just got to get out here and do it.
Be
Yeah.
the change that you want, right? I know it's cliche as it sounds.
That's
No,
a
it's
fact.
real. It's very real. Let's see. These are why this is why y'all tap into brick by brick. It's about gems and moments and conversations like this. So for sure,
For
man.
sure.
But Jay, we appreciate you. We're definitely going to be having you back on sometime within the next couple of months. We got to have you back on to drop some more gems.
Absolutely.
Always a pleasure talking with you. And this is another episode of Brick by Brick. Catch y'all later. Peace.
Thank you.